What's up, you filthy casuals? Welcome to the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast, a podcast all about the irreverent love of gaming. I am one of your hosts, Jeremiah, and tonight I am joined by other equally valued hosts, Dave.
Yay, validate me.
James.
Yay.
And Joel. James apparently doesn't feel... you weren't last. Joel was last. Sorry, I think the noise gate caught that one, Joel. Welcome to the show, everybody. So the assumption probably is going to be that we're going to talk about Fallout 4 the entire episode because Fallout 4 came out this week. And as you may have heard, that's all these three care about in the world right now is Fallout.
And Geralt.
And Geralt. Yes, I'm sorry, Dave.
Okay.
I didn't mean to cast aspersions.
Don't forget about Geralt.
You just reminded me of the conversation. The way he said, Geralt.
The one from earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joel's talking about something.
And he's like, Geralt. That's actually how I have conversations.
We are not talking about Fallout 4 tonight, but we will be talking about it at length next week.
I do want to say, though, if you haven't listened to the Fallout, what was it called?
Twas the night before Fallout 4.
If you haven't listened to that, you should listen to it just because Joel messed up in his recording. So he had no audio at the end, and we had spent an hour talking about it. And Dave and I were just like, why don't you just try to re-record yourself over top of ours?
It was a good conversation. Like, Joel, you can redub it. You got this.
So there's some really just random things. Joel just goes off on a trail, and then we'll cut in referring to something else he said earlier. It's really funny.
Well, the Geralt comment in the actual conversation originally, Joel asked me what character I was going to make in the character creator for Fallout 4. And of course, I joked before I actually answered the question that I was going to make Geralt. But when Joel redubbed his audio, he just completely forgot what he asked. So he was talking about how he bought the Pip-Boy edition. He was like, I'm just really glad I had the collector's box this time around. There's like a slight pause, and you just hear me go, Geralt. it's like, all right.
This may become a thing later on for us.
It was really funny. I actually listened to the entire thing again because it was so random. Then Joel, you would get so indignant, like me and James would be talking about something, and you go to start talking about it too, and then we would be like actually answering after you finished talking again. Yeah. But you would like yell at us because in your redub, like we were talking over you. You're like, wait, guys, I'm not finished. Guys, wait. I can't hear you, Joel. It's a recording.
Well, it was weird because after a while, sometimes you guys would say something perfect and it would click for a second and I would forget, oh yeah, I'm not talking to you in real life. And I would try to watch the segment to know when the period to talk it. But it was weird because
You're like, am I a ghost? Is this what it's like? I think they can hear me. I don't know.
You guys were just ignoring you.
Well, you would make me laugh and I still would laugh at the same parts, even though I've heard it before. So it was just weird. Like, I don't know. It was weird because I would laugh along. I was like, this is a strange experience.
And none of the noises that me and James made while you were talking made any sense. You'd be talking about like, I really like the environment. I'm really excited to explore the vaults. And you hear me be like, yeah. Like, completely out of context.
Yeah, that's right, Dave.
Good stuff.
So
I definitely recommend watching that. Not even for the content, just
go
for
check that out. That is if you don't know, that's a casual conversation, which we do a couple times a month. We talk about, maybe it's something game related. Maybe James and I talk about something serious. But you can find those on youtube.com/casualshenanigans and on iTunes. So whichever way you're listening to the podcast now, you can also find casual conversations that way. But we will be talking about Fallout 4 in length next week. And we will also next week be reading off some of our Fallout 4 fan fiction winners because Joel and James have read them all. Have you guys picked a winner yet?
I've chosen my winner.
Okay.
What?
Chosen your what, Joel?
What? My winner.
All right,
I chose my winner.
We're gonna be reading off some of those next week. We're not reading them this week because we're gonna do something a little different than just straight reading them on the show. So definitely don't miss that. But if you are the winner, Joel will be in touch with you soon to talk about getting you your copy of Fallout 4. And then we'll be reading all the winning or semifinal entries on the show next week. So thank you everyone who submitted it. We had a very good time reading them the other night. It was very enjoyable. So thank you very much. Now it is time to thank people who give money to us on Patreon. Patreon is a way that you can give money to us and we spend it on whatever we want, which has not been a whole lot lately. We've been covering the podcast expenses like the website hosting and our Teamspeak server hosting that, things like that, things of that nature. But we actually, like, our lights are good, our mics are good, everything is pretty good. So short of buying everyone like Shure SM7Bs or something, we are currently just banking the money and planning on, there's a couple different ways we could spend it. We are just biding our time. So if you haven't heard us announce anything Patreon related in a month or two, don't worry, we have not forgotten about it. The money will be used for something. Mostly interest-free loans to yours truly, but we'll come up with other stuff to do with it too.
Let the 980 Ti's rain down.
Yeah, right. Like I'm going to go back to SLI. I'm sure. Yeah, I don't think so. But we have someone pledged this week. So Joel,
What?
James, do you have a voice for Joel to do? They didn't request a voice.
Geralt.
Geralt.
Can you actually do that voice, Joel?
Do Geralt's voice?
No, do Dave saying Geralt.
Oh.
Geralt.
Geralt. Geralt.
All right, ready?
Witcher. I'm supposed to do Dave?
You Dave doing that really weird Geralt voice.
I call that the obsessed nerd voice. Yes, God the Lord.
No, I'll do Dave's YouTube channel voice when he talks about like RTS games and stuff.
I know what you're talking about.
I can do that. I really enjoy listening to Dave's videos.
To fall asleep, we know.
Yes, to fall asleep, not gonna lie. It's just so like, oh, it's cozy.
Can you do his Witcher review one?
No, he doesn't have the emotion for that, James. He doesn't have the emotional range for that video.
Hey, folks, this is Dave. Just wanted to let you guys know that Erin just pledged to the Patreon for Casual Shenanigans. I would just like to say that I really appreciate that you pledged your money to this podcast. It just goes towards really great things like the potato masher and all sorts of great videos and content. And I'm just going to try to get things out to you guys as soon as I can. So just like and subscribe whenever you guys can. And so today's episode's all going to be about RTS games and why I love it so much and how slow they are and how no one can tell me how to play. I'll play exactly how I want to.
Everyone tells me how to play.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Erin. We really appreciate your pledge. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Joel, I want you to, in less than 3 seconds, name the RTS game that I'm playing right now. 2, 1, 0. You dick.
I was gonna say, Joel, you didn't sound anything
I
like
know
Dave,
Total
but that was
War,
actually a good manly voice for once.
Oh, thanks.
Like that's actually a good range. You should try speaking like that.
I think you should keep doing the weird preacher. That's still my favorite of all Joel's voices.
Oh yeah.
Hey guys, ass, bitch.
Oh no, that was. I'm going to tell that story really quickly. So we're reading off one of the Fallout fanfiction things, and we're kind of like doing some voices and stuff, just having fun. And one of them says in the background, like as they descend into the blah blah blah, Joel could be heard cursing, like his curses ring across the valley or something. And Joel thinks of the first curse words he knows and just goes, ass, bitch, bitch.
I was like, that's not like an angry.
Why is it always at the
like
front
someone
of
just
your
be
mind,
walking around saying that, like they're mad at
It's like to a tune.
That's called Tourette's.
Oh, wow.
But tonight we have a very short main topic. It's one we've wanted to do for a few weeks, but stuff kept happening. Speaking of which, War of Rights was successfully kickstarted. So
Yeah.
all due to them being on this show, most definitely. So congratulations, guys. It's really cool. But our main topic tonight is what games have affected you emotionally on more than a superficial level. So that doesn't mean what games have made you super happy that you shot the blue turtle shell and blew up your opponent and got over the finish line faster than them. That's not the type of emotional affectation we're talking about. We're talking about the obvious choice would be The Last of Us, which absolutely everyone loves and has an emotional reaction to. So what other games have affected you guys in a profound way and why? And Dave, why is that game The Witcher 3?
Don't ask me first. Let's
Okay.
just go around the table.
All right,
Let's just go.
I want to go first.
All right.
Heavy Rain definitely was one of the games that affected me the most emotionally.
Okay.
Like, it was just nonstop depressing. And some of the choices were just like, you know, you make choices in a game where, oh man, do I want to be a good character or a bad character? But some of the choices were like, do I want to saw my arm off, or do I want to, you know, do something else to get out of this scenario? It was like, holy crap. And, you know, you spend all this time looking for your kid who's been stolen. You're trying to like save him before he drowns. And all that, knowing that at any moment, one of the characters could die in the game. So it wasn't just, I'm going to see the ending and, you know, I'm just going to go from start to finish and everything's going to just work out. It was like, if you make some bad decisions, that character's journey is over and you're now finishing the rest with, you know, kind of the main character. Mm-hmm. But it had multiple endings, and some of the endings were apparently really sad.
Mm-hmm. How was your ending? I mean, did you get a pretty sad one? I guess they're all probably pretty sad, aren't they?
I got a good one, but just the whole game itself is so melancholy. Like, I don't want to spoil too much, but it starts off with tragedy. Mm-hmm. And so later on, you're this dad taking care of this kid, and he's just like not responding to you. And you're like asking him questions, asking if you want to make him dinner. Like, everything's very interactive. Mm-hmm. And the kid's just like, yeah, whatever. It's like, holy crap, I feel like kind of bad. and then the plot twist when you realize that, you know, who the main killer thing is. You go back and look at some of the things you did in the game. You're like, oh my gosh. So,
I would say, and compounded the fact that there was no going back. Like, you couldn't even turn your PS3 off to like retry again.
There was no save points. Yeah, it was like literally, you make a bad decision, you live with the decision till it's over.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it really was really tense.
Joel, how about you?
Well, that game, I definitely agree with that. That was.
Do you have anything else to say about it?
I would to go with controller stuff. Some of the things you had to do with the controller.
Six axis.
No, like some things you had to,
sex robot.
I'm just looking at the DualShock here and just thinking the math doesn't check out.
Something you had to do, you had to actually use a gentle touch. Like, you couldn't push I'm just gonna say, you couldn't push the sticks like fast. You have to like be really easy so you could drop plates, like interact with objects, but people would be pissed at you. Like, your kid would get angry, like if you, I don't know, even overheated the pizza or things like that. It doesn't sound like much, but man, when you play the game for a while, you're like, because you know there is no going back. It's done. Now that character doesn't like you. So it was like, oh gosh. It was just overwhelming towards the end.
The dialogue decisions were all like, they're all like moving around. And you can tell like time's about to run out. So you're like, oh crap, which one do I pick? Do I want to pick this one? Is this going to be bad, good? And like, if you're chasing somebody and you end up not catching them, that person's gone. It's not like one of those games where you're like, you go to, I lost him, failed mission, start the mission over. It's, you don't catch him, he's gone. So it was crazy.
The game I would like to mention real quickly lately that's really impacted me, like honestly for several weeks after playing it, was Everybody Goes to the Rapture. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
It was so.
I've been listening to that soundtrack almost every day since I beat it. But if you guys get a chance to play through it, the ending really just like resonated with me. It was just like, it was really sad. It was insanely beautiful. But like, I don't know, I just cannot stop thinking about it. Like, it was just a phenomenal, interesting ending that you're just like, man, that is, I don't know. And the music is it was just overwhelmingly beautiful, especially towards the end. It was just really good. And I ended up writing like a several page email to the developers just saying, hey, really appreciate your game. I just love this. I really enjoyed the music and some of the choices they did in the game. I was just complimenting them. I won't mention here not to spoil anything, but Yeah, I don't think I've ever like immediately downloaded a soundtrack like I gotta listen to this thing, and so I bought it like, right away, and I've listened to it literally almost every day. It's just a beautiful soundtrack.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way they used the music too, it wasn't just, like when you're playing a game, like a horror survival game, something bad's about to happen when the music ramps up. They had all these triggers for the music, but it was just done such a cool way that it was like you just felt like you're part of this experience, even though, I mean, it's not like a high action game where you're, fighting stuff and doing things. It's all exploration. But
the ending does make a lot of sense. And once you just kind of figure things out, you're like, what the world? Yeah, it's really good. But that one is it's more of just it's been on my mind, and it's a little depressing, but it's just like, I've been kind of in a melancholy state. At least that first week after I bought it, it was just like I couldn't help but think about it for a while, and so that's interesting.
Now, did the plot twist of Knights of the Old Republic get you emotionally?
Not that like one,
sad.
I mean, it wasn't. It was more of like a Hollywood, like going to the movies, like, oh shit, like that was insane. I mean, I wasn't really like emotionally like, but it was more of like, oh gosh, like whoa. But
can you spoil that for us? I mean, it's been out for 12 years. I'm never going to be able to play through Knights of the Old Republic.
You realize the entire game, you're hearing about this lore of this evil Darth Malik.
Right, okay.
Darth Revan. Darth Revan, sorry.
I'm familiar with the general main story point there.
You realize, like, almost near the end that you're actually Darth Revan.
Okay.
The whole game, you've lost your memory. And so that's the plot twist when you realize that you've been the bad guy the whole time.
Darth Revan, are you a Sith?
Yeah. But it was like, what the crap? Because the whole time you have Darth Revan, and then you have his like mentor Malik. And so you have this guy you're trying to kill the whole time, and then at the end he's like, do you not know who you are? And it was just like, what? And you find out all the Jedi have been lying to you this whole time in the hopes
because they were hoping that like you were good now.
They did some like Jedi mind tricks on you to help actually change
they basically blocked his memories.
It was
That's cool.
nuts. Yeah, it was
really
nuts. Cool. Yeah, it was definitely probably the coolest twist in the game, because I was like, did not see that coming.
Well, also one of the main characters that you've been playing with the whole game becomes evil at the end. Bastila.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Bastila becomes evil?
Huh. Yep. So it's really interesting. Sorry for anybody that we spoiled it for, but
it's
why
been
haven't
out for 12
why haven't you
years.
played it?
Yeah. I wish I played it back then, because now the gameplay, I just can't play it now.
Darth so good. Two is actually really good.
Yeah, but I don't want
to with the improvements they've made. Like, it actually works really well with the controller. And
if someone ports the story from 1 into 2, I know that's like a ridiculously impossible thing to do. I'm just saying, I just don't want to play the mechanics of 1.
Right.
I can't play it 1600 by 1200 anymore. I just can't do it.
The Xbox can.
So I guess I would say my games, obviously The Last of Us, but everyone would say that. It's amazing. It's a Hollywood caliber story, and I'm sure the movie version will actually suck pretty bad. But this is going to sound weird, but Metal Gear Solid 4, which for a lot of people is their least favorite Metal Gear game. But the Metal Gear Solid story is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Even hardcore fans of the franchise have to admit that it really doesn't make that much sense. Like, it's pretty nuts. And like, even reading through the Wikipedia summaries and stuff, or like the Metal Gear wiki things, even reading their like super dumbed down summary, you get to the end and you're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever read. Like, why you just cut out 3/4 of all these twists and turns. But the overarching story of Metal Gear Solid 4 ends up being this, this soldier, all he's been bred for is to fight. That's like, he's a clone. His only purpose on Earth is to fight. And he discovers at the end that even after he saves the world, it's not good enough, because he's actually the biggest threat to the world right now. Spoilers for Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, that he's carrying. I guess, have you guys beaten it?
I have.
Okay. He's carrying that virus, Joel, that if the host has to die, or the virus will probably eradicate the world. And so I wish they'd actually ended the game on the pre-credit scene, where he's just sitting in a cemetery holding a gun, like he's made his peace, and then the screen goes black and you hear a gunshot go off. And then, I don't think a gunshot does go off. I can't remember.
I don't think so.
But then there's an after credit scene, and it ends. He turns out he lives at least for a while longer, and I think that cheapened the game a lot more. But up till that point, I was moved way more than I thought I was going to be by a Metal Gear game.
Yeah,
because
that
most
was
of the
really,
story,
really intense,
most of the story was like,
that.
and then like halfway through, I was like, these cutscenes are actually getting really. Oh, I'm really invested in this. Like, this is good. And then the Witcher franchise, and I'm not going to talk about it too much because I got to give Dave room to talk about it too. But I think I've probably spent more time with the Witcher franchise than maybe any other franchise. I mean, how many books? What, 6, 7 books?
It's 6 in the main trilogy, and then I think 2 or 3 more, so 8 or 9 books.
So I've read 7 or 8 of the books. I've read all the main ones, and then I thought it was 5
Last
in
Wish.
the main trilogy.
You probably read The Last Wish as well.
And Blood of Elves. I read Blood of Elves. But anyway, I read some of the short stories and then the whole thing, and then I've played the 3 games. The second one is my least favorite of the games, just because I felt like the story kind of ended quickly, and it didn't like it felt like it was the end of the second act, not the third. But as a whole, I really, really like the story. And by the end of 3, like, I was incredibly emotionally invested in everything that was going on. The books helped, but from the games too. I mean, I think the books, obviously, having read those, added so much to it, but I was really committed because of the games too. And it's hundreds of hours at this point that I've been involved with the Witcher storyline, and it was really moving. And I guess we ought to do a conversation about that at some point, a longer conversation about the Witcher 3. We'll talk about it.
I did.
We'll have that fight near Game of the Year time.
Joel, you left out Journey.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, gosh, Journey was amazing too. There's a lot of game. Limbo too, even the ending of Limbo was very, very touching, as well.
Also, the Walking Dead series.
Oh yeah,
That's like
Telltale one.
Terribly depressing the whole time. It's like, do you want to feed this little girl or this guy? It's like, oh God.
I mean,
I play games to have fun.
the guy sounds like he probably contributes more, like physical labor and things. So,
The children are our future, Jeremiah.
if we don't live past the next couple days. All right, Dave.
Yeah, I'll go back to the Witcher. Seeing you already talked about it.
Will you?
Yeah, surprise. I think I said that on our Fallout podcast too, is like, I read an entire book series, 8 or 9 books in total, some of them multiple times to prepare for this game. I played through The Witcher 1 and 2 once all the way through, about halfway through the first one again, and then almost all the way through the second one again last year. Just absolutely incredible games. I have no idea what my total hours for the series are, but I have never played a game coming to The Witcher 3 where I have been so heavily invested in the world and especially the characters. Like, a lot of games you play, you meet your new characters and whatnot, but for me, like, meeting Yennefer, it's like 3 games over 5 years have led to this moment. Like, that, just meeting Yennefer was like, I love how that reveal was too, like the surprise reveal in the beginning.
I thought it was kind of a letdown, actually, based on the incredible build-up, but that's a discussion for a different time.
I thought it was really clever after all the build-up over 3 games that she went and found you first. So early on in the game, because I was preparing for this like 20-hour search for Yennefer, and she's like screw it, we don't have time for this, I'm here, let's go. that was awesome. And I'm gonna tread carefully here to avoid spoiler territory, but the entire ending sequence, once it got rolling, I could not stop playing. I beat the entire, I think, last 8 hours of the game in one day. But Jeremiah, you got the same ending that I did, so I'll kind of talk to you for a minute here so I can be vague about it. I stopped the ending sequence because I had to go get other stuff done, and then came back and finished the last bit later. So I stopped my ending, which ended up being one of the good endings, at the part where you're returning to White Orchard.
Okay.
But I stopped there, and so at that point, there's a lot of vagueness in the ending, and I was honestly crushed. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to finish the last however bit of the game, which turned out to be like half an hour that was left. I was like, I don't even know if I want to finish it. Like, I felt destroyed. I have never been so invested in a game's characters before, ever. And I don't think I doubt it's ever going to happen again. Just based off of, all the books and all that stuff, like, that's a lot to dive into.
Yeah.
But outside of The Witcher, which is, the obvious answer, seeing I've declared it the best game that I've ever played forever and ever, I'll talk about BioShock Infinite briefly, which I really enjoyed BioShock Infinite. And that ending, to me, was just such a non-game ending, such a very sad and just appropriate ending for the BioShock series.
That was a really good ending.
Like it, to be honest, it blew my mind a bit just because it was a lot to process really quickly, and I definitely read some wikis afterwards to make sure I'd caught everything. But just the overall tone of the ending, and man, I just really enjoyed the last bit of BioShock Infinite.
Joel, I forgot a really good one.
Which one?
Red Dead Redemption. Did you play that, Joe?
I never finished it.
I did.
Did you finish it?
Yep.
I thought that was a pretty
I thought it was good.
pretty emotional ending.
I thought it was good. I didn't like it as much as I think everyone else did. But I mean, I thought it was really good. I wasn't blown away by it, but it was a really solid one.
So you didn't finish, Joel?
No, the game actually got really boring for me.
It does the typical Rockstar thing where it's like, wow, this is awesome. And then 20 hours later, like, all right, we're kind of in a slump here. The game kind of falls apart.
I did watch the ending on YouTube because I wanted to find out, but like I got kind of annoyed after every mission was ride here, listen to like 10 minutes of dialogue, shoot one guy, then do the same thing over again. I like the multiplayer and the co-op better than the main actual campaign.
Did you like it the last time we played?
Everything was glitching. But the ending looked really awesome though.
It was a very
Zach. That's Zach's one of Zach's favorite games.
It was who?
It was unexpected to me. That's
Zach,
what it was.
Oh, Zach, we know Zach.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it was much more emotionally heartfelt than most Rockstar games. I'll say that about the ending of Grand Theft Auto 4 too. The ending of 4, depending on which ending you get, is actually really good. 5, not so much. You know, all the others, not so much. But Rockstar, I guess, had a good run there where they try to do slightly more serious ones. But all right, anyone have any other games to talk about?
Space Invaders.
I got so invested in my triangle.
Dave, you would. Because back in the day for Atari games, they had like pamphlets and stuff, and you'd read all the background lore of the game because it wasn't actually in the game because they couldn't program all of it. So you would read like a 60-page pamphlet for like RPG type games.
Joel, when I used to play arcade games, I would watch, like, if I was going to play like a new game, I would watch the entire intro that would play like in demo mode before I would play the game, like all the way through. Like even if it was 5 minutes long, I would just sit there and watch the whole thing to get like a handle on what the game was and what the world was before I would dive in, even in arcade games.
And then create a background story for your Mortal Kombat character.
Did you have lore?
Oh, I tried to absorb the game's lore. Like, that 5 minutes of demo lore, that was pretty good, but let me do better here. What's my motivation?
All right. It's now time for something kind of special. Dave, what are we going to watch? What are we about to watch right now?
Special time.
Oh, is it special time?
We're going to watch Dave and Joel's special time video.
Oh my gosh.
You're not wrong. This is the first part of 3 of our real life Witcher 3 series. So speaking of The Witcher and our obsession with it, this one is the presentation. We made our own Gwent card game collector's edition. Spent quite literally months planning and executing this, so make fun of us, please.
All right, everyone have the video? Yeah, you guys probably don't.
Stopped.
That's fine.
Don't have it, actually.
Okay, no worries.
Hold on, I'm gonna drop a link into our document for you guys to watch it unlisted.
Okay. Yeah, so there, Dave is dropping some sick Witcher content.
Oh my!
This has been how many months in the making, Dave?
We started talking about this in August, Joel, when we really started to play the card game a lot.
So you should definitely be watching Dave's YouTube channel for the next couple days, and you will see some impressive stuff.
I'm gonna put this on Skype, seeing Jeremiah does not need the link.
I do not need the link.
There you go, guys. That's the unlisted link. Ooh, secret.
Wait.
I am waiting. I'm waiting.
I don't see it,
when you
Dave.
guys are.
I don't see
it.
it.
It's in Skype.
Wait, hold on. There it is. Shut your hole. Ooh, I've got 2 minutes and 56 seconds. I can go use the restroom.
All right.
Sweet.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Yes.
On 3, 2, 1. Oh my.
Well, to
Yes,
wrap up for
indeed.
people who are just listening to this podcast, it was a short little promo video we did for a real live, living, breathing Gwent board.
I'm gonna cut it out of the audio only version because it'll make no sense.
It'll
It's
be
just
awesome
the
music
Gwent
halfway
It's just a
through.
bunch of copyrighted music.
Actually, CDPR does not drop copyrights on their music. It's
All right,
pretty
but
awesome.
you know what I mean. It's a bunch of just music from The Witcher that.
It's a nice, it's a
It
nice little
enhances
mix of the
everything.
podcast.
Everything. My drive to work in the morning, Gwent music gets you pumped up.
So Dave, this video is going to be live on your channel by the time people who aren't watching the podcast live see it.
Yes.
What else is coming soon?
We actually came up with our name finally for the full live action epic film. This is actually, we use it to actually play the card game, but it's also the main prop in a short film that Joel and I have been doing. And we actually decided to call it The Witcher 3 School of Gwent. There's different schools of Witchers, Wolf and Cat and whatnot. So this is School of the Gwent. And it's about a terrible Witcher who abandons the peasantry in need in order to travel around and play Gwent instead. It was a lot of fun to make.
It's like the chess club at school. Right.
But
It's also
there's
like how, like,
real
you have-
swords.
You have the jocks and the musicians, and then you have the chess club.
Yep. It should be going live. The plan is next Wednesday, along with the behind the scenes making of video.
Cool.
Watch both of those next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. All right, it's now time for the news.
News time.
Dave, take it away.
Have you guys ever heard of GTA MP, GTA multiplayer, or what's the other one called? Let's go with GTA MP.
That's the one you're talking about, so yes.
Well, there's two actually. Or here it is, the 5M mod for GTA 5.
Okay, I've heard of GTA MP. What is it, though,
These
for people
were-
who don't know?
These were both fan versions of multiplayer for Grand Theft Auto. I believe GTA MP actually started in GTA 4 when there was no official Grand Theft Auto, online system. There's actually been some support from Rockstar, according to the developers, for these modding projects. They've answered some questions for the developers and just kind of let them do their own thing. Although a few of the people who are working on GTA MP did have their Rockstar accounts suspended for Rockstar said adding a code that allows for piracy to their game. It's a very weird gray area where now that there's Grand Theft Auto Online that's official, these side large mod projects have kind of been skirting the line of legality. And that all ended this week when, despite Rockstar kind of allowing them to exist, Take-Two, the publisher of Grand Theft Auto, had private investigators show up at the doorsteps of the lead devs of these mods with a phone with CEOs and I guess head people at Take-Two on the phone to tell them personally stop working on these projects, which to me seems really heavy-handed because an example of GTA MP, they already had a splash screen ready to go saying, we respect the intellectual property of other developers, and although we've invested a lot of time and effort into this, we are ceasing our efforts at this time. But they're on Reddit, they're just like, was the private investigators literally knocking on my doors? Is that really necessary?
We don't know the whole story, though. I mean, they say we were totally complying, everything was good, everything was fine. We don't know that for sure. And Take-Two Interactive isn't stupid, and GTA is not, it's such a massive piece of IP. I mean, it's not Star Wars, but it's in that realm. Grand Theft Auto is worth a lot of money, and they're not messing around with it.
The thing is, though, if they weren't complying, if they were not allowing or following a takedown notice or something, then there's legal action that follows that, not a PI at your front door.
A private investigator, that's not it's not the cops kicking your door in, though. I mean, it's not.
No. I'm saying it's a very strange step.
It sounds strange when we're hearing it from only one side. It sounds strange. I will give you that.
Two different modding groups, though, did report that this happened to them.
True.
So I would imagine that both of these mods didn't have the exact same response to Rockstar's request. So even if there had been a legal effort ahead of this, there was still a very heavy-handed response across the board. But maybe it was caused by one of them not wanting to cooperate or something like that.
You're probably right. I'm just trying to err on the side of, I mean, there's plenty of things you can be mad at Take-Two or Rockstar for. I'm just trying to err on the side of maybe there's more to it, but
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of bitterness, from the modders over this. They knew that like they were kind of playing with fire here, but still, the headline of Take-Two sends private investigators to modder's home is not a headline that you see every week.
yeah. All right. This week saw the release of Fallout 4 and Rise of the Tomb Raider. How many people forgot that happened? A lot
It's
of
apparently
people.
quite good from what I heard too.
I am stoked to play it though.
At some
next
point.
year.
Yeah. It was also the release of Steam Machines. Steam Machines are officially released. A bunch of models have now released all at the same time. Like they actually did a launch. I want to go find somewhere in store. I can go look at them now. I haven't really found a place yet. But Steam Machines and Steam OS is officially released now, along with the Steam Link and the Steam Controller. And there are lots of mixed reviews in the Steam Link and the Steam Controller. I want to get a controller and try it because a twin stick controller took a long time to get used to, and a single stick controller took a long time to get used to. And I feel like the review periods that most of these reviewers are using this controller for is maybe not long enough to get over that initial learning curve and find out, is it really a revolutionary control type? Maybe it sucks.
You can try mine.
Oh, I didn't know you already got one.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I mean, I'd be happy to, except I don't live with you, but I don't want to come. I don't want to come visit. I just want to like have it for a while. I'm probably going to get my own. I think I'm going to go ahead and get my own. What's the smile for? Do you hate it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
What?
What?
That's my news item. So
Gotcha. All right, well, that's not what my news item is. My news item is to celebrate that Steam's having a big sale on Steam OS compatible games. So Alien Isolation, Borderlands the pre-sequel, Metro Redux, Amnesia the Dark Descent, yada, yada, yada. There's a big 75% discounts on them. Now, if you already own these games on Steam, you have the Steam OS compatible version. You just install it. So you don't need to do anything else differently. But if you've been thinking about getting into Steam OS, you can dual boot Steam OS. You can build a new computer, put Steam OS on it, or you can get a Steam Link and stream from your PC. So Steam OS is out. We have no idea if it'll be good long term, but I am excited to try it out. I always like competition, and it's looked interesting for a while. So looking forward to seeing how that goes.
I don't feel like the sale was that great. I looked at the sale. I mean, obviously,
they've done a few of them before. I feel like probably the winter sale is so close, like the Thanksgiving or Christmas sale. I think we'll probably see more then.
I mean, you look at like Alien Isolation, $25 is still pretty high, I think.
It is for PC. It's pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Joel.
Black Ops 3. I rented it and I still have it. And we're finishing going through the co-op. And it is fantastic.
Is co-op the whole campaign?
Well, here's what's really unique about it. It is not at all a hacked together co-op experience. Everything is 100% made for 4-player co-op.
4-player?
4-player co-op. Split screen too. Like, I mean, I guess not on PC, but like it will support, 4 players online. But Joy and I are going through it, and it's really fun. Like, the story's really interesting. The gameplay is fantastic. But what's interesting is, like, there's always one character who's kind of the main character of the game. But what's interesting is during the cutscenes on the split screen, each person is actually the main character, but you look exactly as your model. So if you're a girl or a guy in whatever clothing or weapons you have, it just replaces that person as you. But then if someone else is busy, like let's say I'm going up and kind of like in Halo, I'm like pressing a button or something like that. I'm locked into a cutscene. Joy isn't locked. She completely can wander around but they made it. They're really smart. It's hard to explain, but like when you play, you're like, that was really smart of them. Like it didn't do kind of like the, all right, here we go. We'll just watch the other person do something. The other players can actually do something. There's always 4 seats to get into it, or a truck or something. It's so really cool.
It's a separate campaign from the main campaign?
No, it's the main campaign.
It's the main
campaign is 4 players. Yeah.
Shoot. Well, I kind of wish I'd rented that. Could have gone
That's
through
pretty
it.
sweet.
That would have been fun.
Yeah, we're having a blast.
Thanks, Joel.
What?
For not telling all of us.
4-player co-op. We're just sitting right here.
If I had asked you guys to all rent Call of Duty, I don't think that would happen. Maybe Jeremiah.
That wouldn't have happened.
We're renting Battlefront soon enough anyway. So,
But yeah, with the main campaign, then you have multiplayer, and then the zombie mode is like completely retro BioShock feel, starring Ron Perlman, Jeff Goldblum. I forget his name, but the guy from Captain America, he plays Doug Dugum or something like that.
I don't know of a character in Captain America called Doug Dugum.
Dum Dugum. Look him up.
In Captain America?
Yeah. It was the first one. He's like one of the soldiers. Anyways,
Okay.
And then he's also part of what's the HBO series, the World War II series, Band of Brothers. He was one of them, one of the Band of Brothers guys. But he was great, and I don't know who the woman actor is, but it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I'm searching Dum Dum Dugum Captain America. Dum Dum Dugan.
Dugan, there we go.
Okay, Dum Dum Dugan. Oh, Neil McDonough.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
I love that actor. But yeah, they're all, and it's just awesome. It just feels like and it's got this bluesy like detective vibe going on, and yeah, it's fun.
Cool.
It's really fun.
I really want to try it at some point.
That's all. It's not news, just news to me that it was a great game.
News that's good. Yeah, I found a guy. There's a guy who's going to loan me his Steam account so I can do a Potato Masher review. But I'm giving it like a week or two because people say there's so many performance issues and bugs and whatever else. We'll see if they fix it. If they don't fix it, maybe we'll do it. Maybe I won't. But I do want to do that at some point. James, what do you got?
So I did get a Steam Link this week.
With controller.
I had it pre-ordered at Amazon, and only because GameStop said that they weren't taking any more pre-orders. So I figured, I guess to get one, I needed to pre-order. And then Amazon was taking forever. I've never seen them take this long to ship it out. So I was just like, they got it in store, I'll just cancel my order and go grab one. And so I went and bought the Steam Link. And then as I was driving, I was thinking, I kind of want to try the Steam controller. So I went back and bought that.
Nice.
I'm actually really impressed with the Steam Link. I mean, it's essentially just, I'm running wired.
Okay.
So I haven't had any performance issues, but it works really well. It's really responsive. I haven't noticed any lag, but I haven't really done any hardcore shooters or anything. But the games that I have played have all run flawlessly, and they've been running at 60 FPS. So, some of the games that I maybe played on Xbox 360 or PS3, now I get to experience it on the TV. I mean, I could have before, but now that I have that convenience, I might go back and try some of those games that just look fantastic now. The Steam controller, it's interesting. I actually don't think it's as hard to use as people have been making it out. I mean, obviously their learning curve thing is a thing, but to me, it feels like if you've ever played a game on your phone, the left hand always feels awkward because that's the hand that's supposed to be controlling the movement. But the right thumb that controls your camera has always felt pretty well done. And that's essentially what it's like. It's like using that finger to rotate a camera around. And I think it's actually pretty responsive. It's going to obviously take a while to get used to, but I tried a couple games. I tried Portal. I tried Borderlands, as far as first-person shooters. And I played a few other games.
James, can you give us a monthly update on how you like it to see if it's something you keep continuing to use or if it's like, I don't really want to use a controller anymore?
Yeah, I mean, the main reason I bought it, there are games that aren't going to work with a controller. And if I want to play it in the living room, either I bring out the keyboard and mouse, I don't play it in the living room, or I could try the Steam controller and see if it's something that I can get into. And I could see it working long term. I actually let both the kids use it just because they don't have the same muscle memory. Mm-hmm. And they both did actually pretty well. Even my youngest one was using it pretty.
Her thumbs aren't too small to like move across the touchpad.
Well, that is no, it's not. The touchpad isn't the issue. The issue for smaller hands, the way they have the controller, like the analog stick is like right here. Mm-hmm. So it's not too far of a reach for me, but for a kid, I mean that's almost like moving your hand around to get it over. So I really think they had older gamers in mind when they built the controller. Mm-hmm. It works, but I was actually surprised with the number of buttons on it. I mean, obviously it has the 4 buttons, like, the X, right, A, Y. Yeah. But it has the 2 triggers, and then it has buttons on the back that seem to work really well. I could see that actually working really well for like racing and stuff. You actually want to make it feel like
That's the idea
You know,
behind the
kinda like the
Xbox
racing
Elite
wheel.
controller. That's the
Yep.
idea. Is like the paddle shifters. Yeah.
So
Cool. Well,
That's
I
okay.
plan on getting one pretty soon. I hear Amelia got one, Pierogi got one, and her home Wi-Fi is notoriously bad, and the Steam Link is not working very well on it. So I may talk to her about snapping that up and giving it a try. I'd have to be on wireless, but hopefully I can.
I mean,
be
you're
wired removed.
close enough to where I don't think it'd be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
It's worth it
Okay.
to me.
All right, next bit. In case you didn't think Fallout 4 was going to be a massive hit, it is. It sold 1.25 million copies just on PC, just in the first day.
Including pre-orders, though.
Right, including pre-orders, but still, for the
Yeah.
PC first day, those are massive numbers.
Yes.
And it has hit the highest non-Valve game concurrent user numbers on Steam. It hit 500,000 people playing at one time on Steam.
I think it's going to get even more insane as Christmas gets
Possibly.
closer.
No, it's always the biggest for the first week. Like, I don't think the concurrents are what's so big and they go down. But like Dota 2 still has 750,000 concurrents like every single night.
You were talking about sales going up though, Joel? Or are you talking about concurrent
Oh yeah,
players?
the sale numbers will continue to climb.
I can imagine it's going to go up a lot too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Apparently, it's on track to surpass Skyrim. So
It's
Wow,
pretty early.
I imagine it will.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does, but it's a little early to tell. But yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. That would make total sense.
especially once word of mouth starts getting around.
And then the PS4 has been the fastest selling console of all time. It is no longer the fastest selling console of all time. It is now the second fastest selling console of all time, because at this point in the Wii's life cycle is when it started to sell crazy big numbers. Enough of them were in stock that people could buy them if they wanted to, and the demand didn't slow down. And so now it has fallen slightly behind the Wii. The PS4 has sold like 29.5 million units, and at this point the Wii was at 34.5 million units. It's still ahead of the Xbox 360 and the PS3 and the PS2 and everything else. The PS4 is still far ahead of them. And the Xbox One, the failure of this current generation, is still beating the Xbox 360. But we don't know by how much, because Microsoft doesn't want to release numbers because it's losing to the PS4. But yeah.
I think the Wii was just a fluke. So even if
it was absolutely, I mean, look at the sale numbers of all their other consoles. It was definitely a fluke. Like, it was demonstrably a fluke.
So I mean, even though it surpassed the PS4 at this point, I don't consider that a good gauge.
No, not necessarily.
I think the Wii was like a viral video.
Pretty
You know
much.
what I mean? Like, it really became. Man, I think they just got everything right at the start for such a marketable thing, a likable thing.
It was like a new Taylor Swift music video. You're watching it hundreds of millions of times, and you look around like, I don't even know if this is good anymore. I'm just so used to it at this point. But you like it. Oh. It's mail time.
Mail time!
Writing in to casualshenanigans@gmail.com, like they always do, Team Bondar from the Rocket League tournament.
Stop it.
A weird stranger wrote in and said, "Hey, Shenanigang, you keep giving my husband credit for things he didn't do. I couldn't come up with a nice way to say it, so I'll just have to be blunt. He couldn't care less about your podcast. He enjoys playing with everyone, but again, couldn't care less about your podcast. In fact, he has made fun of me for listening to a video game podcast." Do you make fun of him for losing at
Wait,
Rocket
he
League?
plays Rocket League with us, but he's going to make fun of her of listening to a gaming
I know.
podcast.
I make him read my emails to tell me if they're too mean. Whether he says yes or no, I send it. That's the most input he has on my emails. He cares not about Shenana rankings. Sorry, you're all tied for both first and last place in his Shenana world. But here are my updated rankings for favorite Shenana guy.
Well,
Once again.
Maybe if he listened to the podcast, he'd get better at Rocket League.
That hasn't
All those tips we get every week.
Yeah, it hasn't worked for me or James, but whatever.
Screw your mom.
So number 1, Jeremiah. I feel like you could use a win after we double eliminated you in the tournament again. I have 1,700.
Wait, you lost to them.
Again, yes. I didn't score on them anytime. I didn't score on them. I didn't score on myself. for them.
Oh, there you go. Get better.
I have 1,778 demolitions. No joke. Well, the way you spelled it's a joke, but whatever. But the 3 or 4 times I got you were definitely the most satisfying. Thanks for not knocking any goals in for us this time. Now we can take full credit for the victory. Number 2, Dave. You'd be in first if Jeremiah didn't desperately need a win right now. You seem to enjoy my unofficial Fallout contest entry. Polite laughter, real laughter, whatever. I'll take it.
It's polite.
Number 3, James, you weren't in the tournament. Will you ever be in the tournament?
No.
All right. Number 4, Joel.
Wait a minute. I'm the one who actually pled my case. Mm-hmm. I've laughed at her jokes.
Yeah, but you weren't in the tournament.
I wasn't in the tournament. Ooh.
Gee, this is politics. It doesn't matter how good you've been. What have you done lately?
I read their script.
Yep. They don't know that.
And it was crap.
All right, number 4, Joel. You were
You
very surprised to hear that Lady and her Mister, that's the name of their team, beat Catabatic Kittens. That's my team. Did you underestimate us, or did you overestimate your friends? Either way, shame on you. Also, as I've already told you, I thought your first team name was brilliant. Not as fond of the new one. The tournament was a blast. I'm not sure why you call me a shit talker, though. I'm delightful. You're welcome, a weird stranger.
I don't remember saying that.
I called her.
You. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I definitely overestimated you guys.
Why? Why would you overestimate? At what point have we
you
been...
and Mark were pretty good at the start, but I think that was just because maybe me and John were so bad.
Before we moved on to playing everything else.
I guess so.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
I mean, you guys don't practice much, so
that's probably
that's
it.
why.
That's probably it. So, all right, and then the next email is from Adam. Hey, you filthy casuals.
Someone not Bondar.
I'm thinking about building a Steam machine because why the heck not? Still not convinced there's any reason to buy a Steam OS machine over Windows, but I'm wondering what you think. Are there any savings in terms of cost? Are there any performance benefits from running a game-centric OS like Steam OS? I love the concept, but don't understand the value proposition relative to Windows. That's the first part of his question. To answer it, are there any performance benefits? Theoretically, yes, there will be, but we don't know yet because the OS just came out. We do know that the OS is a lot more bloated than Mac OS or Windows when it comes to gaming because it's built from the ground up to play games on it. So in theory, games will run better on Steam OS. I'm very excited to test that theory, but we don't know yet. But on to the rest of his question. In any case, I have an Alienware X51 right now. It's a stock build from 2013 with an i7 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and a GTX 760. I'm running games adequately at 1080p right now. I'm thinking of building a low-cost dedicated Steam machine and swapping out the 760 into the Steam machine and upgrading the 760 in the X51 to a 970. I've looked at the 960, and those don't seem to offer much more than I'm getting from the 760. You're right, it doesn't. The 970 is a step up, but it seems to stumble when playing at higher resolutions, and it's really a non-starter at 4K. The 980 is pretty expensive, and even that runs 4K at he says sub 60 megahertz. I think you mean sub 60 FPS, because megahertz would be 60,000 hertz as a refresher. I'm assuming you didn't mean that. I'm not trying to make fun of you. I'm just clarifying.
Speed of light refreshing.
While still reading your email as written. What would you recommend that I do? I know that in the next few years, I'm going to make the move to 4K, and it seems to me like upgrading the GPU now is a waste since none of the current processors do a great job, and I'd probably need to upgrade again in a few years. I think you mean none of the current GPUs do a great job. On the other hand, it seems like a complete waste to buy anything less than a 980 today because the move to 4K that is definitely happening will render whatever else I buy now completely useless in a 4K world. Appreciate the feedback and your build recommendations. Any thoughts before Dave and I divvy this up and answer it?
I say get a Steam Link and spend more money on your video card instead of getting a Steam machine and a video card.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't buy. I think Steam machines are gonna be gone really
okay,
fast.
no. Don't. We don't know if they're going to be good or not. But
I didn't say I knew. I just said I think.
Yeah. I understand that, but I wouldn't dismiss the concept of a Steam machine. I don't know if I would immediately build one though.
Yeah.
You might think about making the Steam Link like
If they were much cheaper, I think it'd be cool.
Well, I mean, they're console priced. I mean, they're
not super.
I mean, define much cheap. I mean, you can get one for $399.
Yeah, they're cheap gaming computer priced or console priced. I mean, will they catch on? Who knows? But they are priced right where they need to be priced. But who knows if they're going to be any good? But I agree. I don't think I'd get one right now. Because there's nothing, unless there's a huge performance benefit to SteamOS, and in theory there should be, but we don't know yet. There's no reason to not just have a Windows computer, unless you're like Joel and your idea of a dream gaming setup is where you push one button on the controller and everything turns on for you and you never have to touch a grimy mouse and keyboard like a peasant, and you can just press the one single button and everything works. So if your idea of too much effort is standing up to put a disc into a PS4, then yes, you might want a Steam machine. But if you're okay using a computer, you might just want to stick with a regular computer, or like Joel said, get a Steam Link, put more money into your video card.
James said that. Joel just said,
I'm sorry. Joel agreed with you, I thought. So, Dave, do you agree with what he says that the 970 stumbles at higher resolutions and it's a non-starter at 4K?
Haven't tried it at 4K, but it did okay at 1440p.
Here's my issue with what he says. I mean, I'm not picking on you, Adam, but all the reviews you read of graphics cards, and I hate this, they max all the settings out and they see which card cracks first. Maxing all the settings out is a really dumb way to figure out where's the best value, because max settings are horribly inefficient in games. It's a good way to find out which graphics card is faster than another, but it doesn't tell you, is this graphics card going to be acceptable at this resolution? I had an R9 which is pretty similar to a GTX 970. I had a single 970, I had two 970s, and now I have a 980 Ti, and I'm gaming at 4K on all of those cards. The R9 and the 970 were perfectly fine at 4K. Not on the highest settings most of the time, but medium to high on every game I played, they were totally fine. And it still looks fantastic. Medium is not a terrible looking game. Like, medium games look better than the Ultra looked 3 years ago, like way better, because art styles have improved. So if you want to play at the absolute max settings, yeah, you can't get an awesome 4K card right now. Like, my 980 Ti won't max everything in 4K in every single game. Like, that's just, but maxing out the graphics is a really inefficient way to try to game. So you totally could do it. But if you're not buying a 4K TV yet, don't spend a bunch extra on the card. Get a card that's great for your current setup, which is probably a 970, and then sell it in 2 years when you get a 4K TV and buy whatever is cheap then that will probably run 4K way better. Don't spend a ton of money now for performance you don't need for like the next 2 years. The 980 is not good value at all. It's way too much money for the amount of performance it gives. I think it has started to come down in price though, hasn't it, Dave?
A little bit, yeah. Not enough to justify it though.
Still in the 5 range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can get like a refurb 980 Ti for the high 5s now. So if I was going to spend anywhere in the 5s, I'd be getting a 980 Ti. But I mean, you have an X51, so I don't know how much your power supply supports. None of those might be good options. I would look at a 970. If you want to make an upgrade, a 970 is going to clean up compared to your GTX 760. And then just flip it and buy whatever, the 1270 or whatever it is in 2 years when you actually get your 4K TV. Because otherwise, you're looking at spending hundreds of dollars extra now for performance you don't need yet. Because at 1080p, a 970 is a fantastic card. And my recommendation is play on high. Not very high, hopefully not medium, although medium's fine. But I play on high settings. You'll have a much easier experience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. It's now time for 90 Seconds with Joel, part of the podcast where Joel doesn't have anything prepared.
This part was supposed to be the Gwent video.
This was the Gwent part.
I mentioned that, but I think no one heard that. And then
Dave asked if we can move it. Dave asked if we can move it forward. That's fine.
More Gwent.
You don't have to have a 90 seconds. It's fine. You don't feel like...
I don't need 90 seconds. 90 seconds of silence.
We know.
Let's skip mine because I want to go back to playing Fallout 4.
That was a short one. Thanks, Joel.
Yeah, that's about as long as I needed to listen to
It's raining outside. All right, thanks. Thanks, Ollie.
Pretty much everywhere. It's going to be hot. That's what your ship is. Pretty much all the time playing Fallout. All right, speaking of Fallout, we're not talking about Fallout this week, but we do have the Potato Masher versus Fallout. Now, have you guys on our system, have any of you guys watched the video yet?
Nope. No.
Okay.
No.
Last week, Dave, do you remember what your prediction was of how well it was going to do?
Did I say high 60?
You said very high 60 FPS locked.
Woo.
I forgot we did that.
You weren't on the podcast then. That's why you don't remember.
I was having a good night last week.
We did it a
was
while
last
ago,
week,
though,
Joel.
didn't we?
It was last week.
No.
Did we do it a while?
I don't know. I remember saying maybe I was talking to you guys while listening to the podcast. I don't know.
But anyway, so let's make some predictions now before we watch the video. What do you guys think, James and Joel? How well does it play the game? It doesn't meet the minimum requirements. It has half the RAM required to run the game.
It'll play.
All right.
It'll play.
All right,
Yeah,
Joel?
I think it'll play it okay.
Okay.
On Ultra, I haven't seen my RAM go past 3.2 gigs. So that, like Arma, is the engine limitation for accessing the RAM. Like, I think it's the exact same limitation.
Okay. Any predictions on anything else, guys?
Just a whole lot of bitching. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Well, thank you for your enthusiasm.
And this is why we have an embargo. It was placed on us by Bethesda. They specifically wrote to the podcast.
Yes,
so since you
exactly.
guys have so many viewers, we need to push you off for another week.
All right. So, guys, cue it up, and we'll start it here in just a second. I'm going to mute
I'm
the stream
ready.
while I cue it.
I did peek at the intro graphic, so I'm pretty excited.
Do you like how it looks?
I do.
I hope you guys like the music. I honestly don't know if you will or not.
All right, I'm ready.
Here we go.
All right,
Let's do
you
it.
guys ready?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Fallout 4 on the Potato Masher. 3, 2, 1. Today we're going to be looking at Fallout 4 on the PS4 and the Potato Masher. In case you don't know, the Potato Masher is a $350 PC custom built in December of 2014 and designed to compete against the PS4 for the remainder of its life cycle. The goal is not to make fun of consoles, but to show that PC gaming can be just as cheap and even better than gaming on a console. It's a project run by the Casual Shenanigans Gaming podcast, so click the link on screen if you want to check that out. There's also a FAQ video if you want to know more. Lastly, this was recorded and uploaded at 60 FPS, so switch to that if your browser supports it. Let's get to it! First, let's talk about the minimum requirements for the PC. As usual, they're basically just random pieces of hardware that sound nice in a list that have little bearing on the game's actual performance. The Potato Masher doesn't meet the minimum requirements for processor or RAM. It does exceed the requirements for the graphics card, and of course it has plenty of hard drive space. Given this, you'd think that it would maybe be able to run the game at low or medium settings with a few issues. Well, that's not the case. Literally everything is turned up right now. Every setting. Even God Rays, which looks no better at Ultra than at low. I've locked the frame rate at 30 FPS and set the resolution at 1080p to match the PS4 version. Potato Masher is not pushing itself very hard to maintain these settings. That 8GB RAM requirement is definitely not necessary. RAM usage usually stayed under 3.5 gigs, but it did occasionally climb to 3.8. That's totally normal and average for modern games. As usual, if you have more RAM, your system will use it. My personal computer has 16GB of RAM, and it uses almost 10GB when I'm playing Fallout 4. But the game does run perfectly fine on the Potato Masher with 4GB of RAM. There is some slight controversy about whether or not Fallout 4 is a good-looking game. It definitely looks better than Fallout 3 or Skyrim, but does it look good? Without getting into a larger discussion about how the graphical arms race hurts the gaming community, I'd say that Fallout 4 is behind the times but looks fine. There are some oddly low-res textures on both the PC and PS4 that are just hideous. Thankfully, these are pretty rare. The art design is great and unique, but you won't forget that you're playing a Bethesda game. Faces have a flat and dead quality to them, and animations are similarly stiff and lifeless. Also, shadows flicker and fade in as you approach objects. This is somewhat noticeable on the Potato Masher, but very obvious on the PS4. The PS4 just doesn't have shadows past a certain distance from the player, and watching them all appear as you walk through the wasteland is distracting. Grass and objects also load much earlier on the PC than on the PS4. Lighting appears to be mostly the same across both versions of the game, but it did appear that shadows were slightly deeper and there were a few more light sources on the PC. On the Potato Masher, the frame rate was largely stable. There were occasional slight dips to 27 or 28 FPS, but these were for no more than 1 second. It appeared to be because of additional artwork assets streaming in, which is fairly common for an open world game. Fallout 4 has a very ambitious amount of objects and characters to load as you move through the world, so a momentary frame drop or two isn't a big deal. The PS4 does unfortunately tend to struggle a little more than that though. I can't measure the PS4's frame rate with the equipment I have, but Digital Foundry's excellent technical evaluations show that it does drop in frame rate somewhat consistently. I did notice this when I was playing the PS4 version, so hopefully future patches help with that. The Potato Masher's frame rate was definitely much more stable. 30 FPS is fine if you're into that sort of thing, but 60 FPS or higher is usually preferred by most people who've seen the difference. That said, you always have to drop the graphical settings a bit to stay at a steady 60, so it's not always worth the trade-off depending on your hardware. On the Potato Masher, I had to lower the settings to medium to maintain a stable 60 FPS. I did turn God Rays down to low, but it looks identical to the higher settings and mostly just wastes performance and makes AMD cards look bad. On medium, shadows do start to fade in noticeably sooner, and turning down anti-aliasing does produce a slight shimmering effect on distant objects. It still looks better than the PS4 version, but it's slightly inferior to very high. Action is much better though, and panning and moving feel more fluid. I'd probably take the visual hit to keep the frame rate up. 60 FPS definitely feels worth it. Here's where we throw practicality out the window and just see how far we can take this machine. Most people don't spend more on their monitor than on their PC, but the Potato Masher would be ready for it. I could run high settings at 30 FPS and 1440p, which looked pretty great. There's a noticeable clarity boost, especially with distant objects. 60 FPS is much harder though. On very low settings, the frame rate would stick at 60 until I got into combat, or in other situations where there was a lot going on. Then, it dipped to the low 50s pretty often. That's still a good frame rate, but at those graphical settings, the shadow pop-in, shadow resolution, and distant object detail is pretty bad. 4K is a similar story. That extra level of detail is nice, but I had to settle for low settings and 30 FPS. The frame rate stumbled often enough that I wouldn't say it was stable. The frame rate was worse than the PS4, but better than the Xbox One. Unstable frame rates aren't ideal, so I would say that the Potato Masher did not do an acceptable job at 4K. For how it looks, a lot of people are disappointed with how poorly Fallout 4 seems to run on a wide mix of hardware and both consoles. While the Potato Masher was able to max out the settings, I do agree that the game should probably run a little better or look a little nicer. Part of that is due to the large open game world, but The Witcher 3 and GTA 5 both managed to look cutting edge and run decently well. Future patches and improvements may help with performance, but for now, the game is still really enjoyable as is. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking it or leaving a comment. Please check out the Casual Shenanigans Gaming podcast and the FAQ video if you have any questions about the Potato Masher. The original build video can also be found in the description. Let me know what games you'd like me to see me test next, and have a great day. All right. And if you're watching the podcast, if you want to see it in good quality, you'll have to go back to my channel and rewatch it because the podcast version is obviously much lower megabit and it's only 30 FPS.
Dude, you sounded so sleepy.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a backstory there. Vegas, in one of its many crashes, lost the entire voice recording last night or this morning at like 2:15 in the morning.
What?
And I did the whole thing again in one take at 2:15, and I listened to it again today. I was like, that's not as happy as I wanted it to sound. But
And then I was gonna fight.
I was gonna ask you if you were like chewing tobacco at one point. You're like, if you look at
He was getting into that.
Look at the
mood of Fallout.
does it sound that bad?
It's
No,
just,
it
just
doesn't sound
noticeable
that bad.
comparison.
I can just in comparison. Yeah, you don't
Okay.
sound as chipper.
It is funny though that I actually noticed that definitely we're from the same area. Like I could tell more of your accent this time.
Yeah, when I'm tired, it slurs through a little. Do you guys have any points you would like to make about some of my critiques of the graphics?
No,
I have one.
No.
When you were mentioning the pop-in, I mean that's something honestly I do notice a lot. That if a game is really bad, that like it can be really annoying. And there's a lot of games on 360, or especially like Fallout 3 was really bad. I think that Fallout 4 is actually done really well on the PS4. Like, I'm actually blown away at how well it runs on the PS4. Like, I'm really enjoying it. I was not expecting it to be that good on PS4.
I don't know why you'd be blown away. It has severe pop-in. It's missing lots of things in the distance, and
You're
it runs
saying
less
severe
than
pop-in.
30.
Joy's been watching. I'm thinking, seeing like the way things fade in. It's not popping in. I'm not seeing lots of shit.
Okay, it's called pop-in. Fade in is a different term.
But I'm saying, yeah, I know fade in. But I'm saying it's done really well. That I don't think it's that like eye-popping compared to a lot of games. Like
it's maybe not as bad as some
Witcher on the
games.
PS4 has more harsh pop-in than Fallout 4 does. Like it has more things in the background that like pop in. Just however they do it. Like Just Cause 2 has one of the best level of detail fade in. It's just like if you're not looking for it and you're just playing the main game, it kind of like I don't know. I always thought they had a really impressive way of doing that. So I'm actually impressed.
Motion blur when you're moving.
Yeah, like when you turn, it's like whoop, there it is. There's the line.
And Joel, my main point is it's much better on the PC. Not that like
No, I know that.
Okay.
I'm just saying personal from playing on the PS4. I was like,
It's
I
fine.
think they did a really good job at Bethesda for doing that. Even compared to like Skyrim, like, and I played on both systems. Whatever they did, I think they have it fade in a little bit nicer. So
The pine trees popped a lot in Skyrim.
I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
There are a few times where I was looking at it. It was like, like you can tell which areas they spent more time on than others. But then, I kind of remind myself that it's a big open world game. And I know GTA does it really well, but I was thinking about all the persistent items they have to keep in the world. I don't know how much that affects it, but it
does. I mean, that kills DayZ. It definitely
it kind of reminded me of playing a zombie survival game at certain points, especially some of the places that I, ventured off to that weren't part of the story. It felt like I was just going through like a rust or something like that.
I think it's a great technical achievement, so I'm not trying to knock that, but it is obvious, like some of those textures, it's almost inexcusable how bad some of them are. Like it looks like someone just pasted it in from Oblivion and then just left it. Like I'm sure modders will fix some of those things. Those just seem like oversights almost. Overall, I think the internet's complaining about how the glitches and stuff in the game more than maybe it deserves.
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, so far I think it runs pretty well.
I forgot to mention, everyone.
Yeah.
If in James 2 on PS4, if you get a chance, set it to like maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes. You don't know what I'm going to say.
Well, you said, okay, everyone, and James.
Well, because it has to do with recording. Record some of the glitches if you get a chance. Because I would love to put together a collection of CSG glitches that we find randomly. I've
got a couple.
I've run into 3 that are just freaking hilarious. And so it'd be fun to all just combine the footage just back to back. Not like a long video, but just like bam, bam, bam. There's just funny little things.
Thank you, ma'am.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I wanted to say, Jeremiah, that as the group's 3D artist, I appreciated your texture hoedown in the video.
That was funny.
I was just like, when I was playing the game, like you get to those and you're like, you should be like, guys, come on.
Well,
it's this whole pillar that just like doesn't. It's like it's loading the temp InDesign texture when you make an InDesign document and the image doesn't link and they load the 1024 pixel like preview image. It's like, guys, come on.
I showed Joel the screenshot where I was on the bridge overlooking Sanctuary, taking like an awesome screenshot of my settlement. I'm like, wow, like the shadows across my crappy looking walls look awesome. The water is flowing really cool. There's like debris just floating down the river. And then I made the mistake of looking down at the railing right in front of me. And I swear it's 20 pixels of texture on that entire like half a foot of railing. It's just it's like a tan blur. It looks hilariously bad, but it's just like, they didn't expect you to be like staring right down at that railing at that point. I just happened to look down at the river right there. And it's even funny in the screenshot that I took because you can see the river below and the water looks awesome with all the rock textures below it. It is kind of funny, just the hit or miss sometimes.
James just looks very judgmental right now.
Oh, I'm not judging you. I'm plotting.
He's whenever he's going like, I'm not judging you. I'm disappointed.
I'm just plotting.
Plotting land.
Okay.
So anyway, next week we will be talking about Fallout 4 in depth, and it will be a pretty good time, I'm sure. But it's now time to wrap the show up, guys.
Wrap the show up time.
Thank you for coming out. thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, if that's your thing. If you didn't know, we stream live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/casualshenanigans, and we'd love to see you guys come out sometime. But if you can't make it out to the live shows, you can find us in iTunes, you can find us on YouTube. Consider liking us or leaving us a review on iTunes. That helps us move up the rankings, and we really appreciate it.
You can hang out with us in GTA.
Yeah, you can come hang out with us in GTA right after this podcast if you want to. You can join the Seal Slappers and see when we're online. That's the name of our Rockstar Social Club. And we'll probably be planning some community events coming up soon. We've had a couple recently, so we don't have anything on deck right now. But yeah, cool stuff's happening. So expect more Potato Masher videos in the very near future. And expect some that people have been requesting for a while. And coming up on the podcast, we've had a lot of special guests recently. So I think we're probably going to be cruising for a little while on some regular shows. We've had some topics we've wanted to do for a while, so this would be a good time to do some of them.
You may sound we're just like we're in cruise mode now. We don't care.
We got to get through the fallout. We got to get through the fallout wasteland of Joel and James's attention spans.
We have good topics.
We do have good topics. Do we have good attention spans? That's what I'm wondering. Exactly. You're just smiling and staring at me. An apology. You're a grown man. Admit it. You just want to play Fallout.
I've got work to do afterwards.
Work, sure. Oh, you
actually
work.
GTA. I might play some GTA.
You should play some GTA. Play with us, Joel. You should do it too. Thank you for at least being honest. I'm like, oh yeah, man. Maybe I'll hop on later. Maybe.
I didn't play Fallout much yesterday.
That's like a confession,
I didn't
James.
play any.
You're so serious.
I mean, I'm proud of you. I don't know what you want me to say.
Just weigh my options.
All right. But thank you everyone for coming out. You can write into casualshenanigans@gmail.com, tweet at casualshenaniga, at Germ Gaming, at Evil Viking. You can find the two of us on YouTube plus the podcast, and we'll see you all next time. So until then, stay casual.